Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, Midnite Oil Software. This is Greg, and I'm going to pick up where I left off yesterday. We've got, it looks like my live stream stuff is working. I had my headphones on and I was listening to the stream on my phone. So if there's any issues with the audio or anything, if you all could let me know in the chat, that would be great. In the meantime, today, what we're going to be working on is picking up where I left off on my 3D space shooter tutorial game and basically getting it ready to start adding multiplayer functionality. You remember, I didn't stream yesterday actually because we had our weekly mastermind meeting. It's a group of guys that I met at Jason Wyman's Game Dev Guild. Oh man, 4 or 5 years ago, we formed a mastermind group and we've been meeting weekly ever since. We took a couple of weeks off for Christmas and New Year's, so that was our first time getting back together since before Christmas. So it was fun getting to see those guys, and it's always fun to catch up and share what we're working on and everything. But if you remember what we worked on in my last stream, I used Bezier to come up with a plan for prepping my 3D space shooter for before I want to start adding multiplayer. And one of the things was I wanted to add the ability to take damage, and I wanted to add shields to the player ship. And we added the shields and we got that working, but what we didn't do was add the UI elements. But I did use Bezier, if you recall, to come up with a plan for how we would add the UI elements for the shield and the hull integrity, or the ship's health, whatever we want to end up deciding to call it. So we have this plan here that we're probably going to follow today. But before we do that, I wanted to look at my old Galactic Empires game. This was actually like the first real game I made in Unity. I had taken the Intro to Game Development course. It was one of those CS5 courses from Harvard X. And the first, 4 or 5 assignments in that course were all using Love 2D, the Love 2D engine. And the last couple assignments, they actually got us into Unity. And the very final project was to write your own game in Unity. And this is the game that I wrote. And then I took it a little bit farther after I submitted it for the course. But this is sort of the basis of my 3D space shooter tutorial, although I've done things quite a bit differently since this is the first game I ever wrote. But I want to look at how I added shield and hull integrity UI to the player's ship. So you can see up at the top of the screen there's shields, and at the bottom there is hull integrity, and then I've got my particle beam, which is basically my laser, right, or the blasters that you would have in my 3D space shooter game. Oops. So the idea of this game is I'm escorting a transport ship. I want them to start shooting at me, so it's kind of random when the enemies spawn if they're going to go after me or they're going to go after the transport ship. So you can see the transport ship's taking some damage. Ah, good. Okay, you can see my shields have been damaged and my hull has been damaged. So that is basically what I'm going for. And so I guess I'd like your guys' opinions, if anybody's watching this and have any opinions in the chat, of how you think, because right now I've got these are my missiles. And I will show the missiles here unless I'm reloading, in which case I've got a progress bar, and then I have my blasters here. You think I should maybe just in this corner put shields and hull integrity? Because I'm already displaying some UI elements up at the top of the screen. So I'm kind of leaning with putting them over here in the lower right corner. Let's see. If I go and look at the plan here, we just want to add a health bar and a shield health bar to the player canvas. So let's see. If we look, so yeah, it was under the impression initially that I was going to reuse those, which we are not. We're going to be creating new elements in the canvas. So we want to select UI panel and name it Player Health Panel. So let's go up to Managers, UI Manager, Canvas. Here we are. UI Manager, Canvas. And I want to add a new panel and call it Player Health Panel. Okay. And under here, we're going to want to put, so I don't know if I want a label. It's actually recommending that I give it a label, and then I give it the health background, and then a health bar fill. But I think instead of doing that, I want to do like I did in the Galactic Empires game, where the progress bar just had the label over top of it. It was just text over top of the progress bar. So maybe I'll just add the progress bar first, and then I'll add the label. Yeah, I like the way that looks. All right. So let me go and look at our prefab UI. Okay, we don't have a UI prefab for that. Let me go look at Ship Systems health bar. So I think I'm just going to drag this prefab I'm just going to drag that prefab up onto my player health panel. And let's see where the ret transform wants to put it. I want to put it in lower right. Okay, where is it putting that? Looks like it's putting it right in the middle right now. So let me take a look. Oh, okay. So those components. It's kind of wonky the way that is. Maybe what I'll do is I'll delete that. And I will copy this. And I will paste this here. And I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to rename this to, we'll start with, player health UI. And let's see. Maybe I'll put the shields and the, I'm going to call this something else. Instead of player health UI, I'm going to call it player status UI. And then here, I'm going to call this shields. And then we don't need two of these. And actually, we could probably just move this up here and delete that. Call this shields. And we don't need a cooldown. So I'll delete that. And I want to make this a bit bigger. And I want it to be a different color. See if I make something like 300 by 200. Okay. Maybe 300 by 200. Let me go back to that and then look at these individual ones. 150. So maybe 250. All right. 250. Something like that. I guess that would make sense. Shield strength. No, I want that to be the label. Almost. Oops. And I think I want this whole thing to be a little bit wider. Okay, and then I'm going to duplicate this whole thing. And Hall integrity. I'm just going to call this label. Label label. And I don't want that to wrap. Yeah, that looks good. We're going to, I don't want to do that. I'm going to move this whole thing down. And then I want to something like that. So I think that's good enough for the UI elements. All right, so now what we need to do, I think we've got all of that laid out about the way we want. So now we want to create a UI script. So the suggestion that Bezzy gave me was to have a player health UI that has damage handlers for both the ship and the shield. So let me just go ahead and copy this. So player health UI. So that would be a UI script. So let's come into our project hierarchy and go into scripts, UI, create scripting, model behavior script. Okay, did it choke out on me? Okay, player health UI. And let's open that up in Writer. Okay, so we've got our ship damage handler, we got our shield damage handler, we've got health bar refill, health label. We don't need this. And we don't need this. And I don't know that we need this because we're setting it in the inspector already. One thing I don't like about this is Bezzy, I need to add the rules document for this project so that it knows not to do stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of things that Ryder will warn me about that Bezzy, you know, bad practices that Bezzy will do. This is another thing I like to do is invert my ifs and do early exit guard clause. It just reduces nesting. Here's another case I could do that. This is actually not recommended that to make these kind of changes when you're initially implementing something because you're kind of switching between left brain and right brain. So right brain is your creative focus. You know, you're going in and you're cranking out stuff, and then when you start doing analytical stuff and you do meticulous, you know, cleanup and stuff while you're doing the new stuff, it kind of can slow you down because you're context switching. But sometimes I just can't help myself. Especially when Ryder is just shouting it out in my face. The other thing I like to do is use bar. Okay, so we got that script. We want to go ahead and attach it to our UI. So jump back into Unity. Yeah, let me look at Bezier and see where it was telling me to put it. Add the player health UI to the player health panel, and then I can drag in all the different things. So let me move that off the screen there. Go back into Unity and pick my player health panel. So I think that should be in there, actually. Okay, and then I'm going to drag that script onto there. So the ship damage handler this could be a problem since we're going to be spawning the ship and respawning it. So this might actually be an issue the way I'm implementing this right now. Okay, where's the damage handler? Here we go. Health bar fill. So this is for the hull. And then the color gradient. Now that's interesting. It's recommending I use a gradient here. It'd be interesting to see what that looks like. And let's see. All right. Well, let's see if that works at all. I wonder, do I take damage if I fly into asteroids? Apparently not. That's something we're going to want to address. Okay, where are the enemies? They should be showing up. There's one behind me. If I can get him to shoot at me. Maybe I'll run away from him. Okay, come on, shoot at me. Yep, my hull integrity is going down. Looks like my hull's taking damage before the shield is. I wonder if I got those backwards in the script. I bet you that's what it is. Okay. I should reduce the delay before the enemy ships spawn. Okay. Where are you? Yep, there go my shields are going down, down, down. Come on, destroy my shield and start hitting me for real. I need to lower my shield strength. It's taking them too long to take them down. Okay, shields should be down. It doesn't look like I'm taking any hull damage. I'm trying to just do a retrograde here so he doesn't have to peel away so often. He can just keep coming at me. The problem is it's throwing his blaster accuracy off because I'm retreating. Yep, doesn't look like I'm taking any hull damage, so that's something I'm going to have to debug. Well, I don't know if you heard my phone buzzing, but there was a call from my boss at work, so I think I'm going to have to end this stream early, and we will revisit this hopefully tomorrow. So anyway, if you joined in, thanks for watching, and good luck on your game development journey.